Hogan's Heroes is an American television sitcom about a Nazi German prisoner of war camp during the Second World War. The show ran for 168 episodes, a total of 6 seasons, from 1965 to 1971. It involves the inmates of this POW camp and the way they conduct espionage and sabotage with a campaign that's right under the noses of their captors. Colonel Hogan leads a ragtag band of POWs against these bumbling Germans that give his crew plenty of opportunities to sabotage the war efforts. Colonel Klink is more concerned with having everything run smoothly and avoiding any trouble with his superiors, especially anything that might result in him being reassigned and sent to the front. The show was filmed in 2 locations. The indoor sets were housed at Desilu Studios. The outdoor scenes were filmed at the 40 Acres backlot in Culver City. This is the same backlot that was used for the Andy Griffith Show. Early in the production planning, it was decided to make it always winter on the show, with snow on the ground and frost on the windows. This was done to prevent continuity problems that might arise, and it allowed the episodes to be shown in any order. Since much of the filming was done in the summer, the cast members had to wear coats and act like it was cold, even though the temperatures were often over 90 degrees there in Southern California. It's pretty interesting that the leather jacket that Bob Crane wore in the show was originally worn by Frank Sinatra in Von Ryan's Express from 1965. That same jacket was also worn by Greg Kinnear in the movie Autofocus from 2002, which was the Bob Crane story done on film. Another interesting aspect is that Werner Klemper, Howard Kane, Leon Askin, and John Banner, who portrayed the chief Germans, were all Jewish. All of them also served in the U.S. Armed Forces during the Second World War. Klemper was born in Cologne, Germany, and Banner and Askin were both born in Vienna, Austria. The 3 of them immigrated to the United States after fleeing the Nazi regime. Werner Klemper only agreed to play Colonel Klink once he was assured by the show's creator that Klink would never succeed in any of his schemes. Almost all of the night scenes were filmed using what's called a day-for-night filter, which is a special attachment used to make scenes filmed during the day look like they're at night, although you can usually tell the difference because the sun still casts shadows. The various secret code names that Colonel Hogan and his outfit used were fairy tale names like Papa Bear, Goldilocks, and Little Red Riding Hood. Colonel Hogan's code name was Goldilocks in the series debut, contacting an underwater submarine in the episode entitled The Informer. For the first several seasons, the snow on the roofs and on the ground was actually salt. By the 4th season, much of the snow on the roofs had been replaced by patches of white paint. By the 6th season, all the patches of snow on the roofs and many of the patches of snow on the ground, especially in the high traffic areas, were also just paint. The original script had the show set in an American jail. Series creator Albert Ruddy first put Hogan and His Heroes in a domestic clink. He rewrote the script upon learning that NBC was developing a show titled Campo 44, which would be set in an Italian prison camp. It then took him just a day to rework the show into its World War II setting. The chirpy instrumental march that opened and closed each episode had secret lyrics. Robert Clary, Richard Dawson, Ivan Dixon, and Larry Hovis formed a quartet of singing heroes for the show's soundtrack. To showcase their singing talents, they actually released an album. The four go on to sing popular songs from the 1940 on this tie-in album. And in the liner notes on the back, it begins by saying, "Would you believe World War II was funny?" It's said that Werner Klemper had a great sense of humor, and it's noted that one day when he was at a restaurant in Los Angeles, when his nervous waiter nearly dropped a saucer, Werner's eyes then narrowed, and he said, "For that, you will turn and face the wall for 100 minutes, with all the haughtiness and scowl of Colonel Klink." But then after a few seconds, Klink's sternness vanished, and Werner's own mischievous smile took over instead. Now, Bob Crane, who was the star of the show no doubt, seemed like the ideal leading man. He was handsome, clean-cut, and completely likable. He was well-liked on and off the set. Most of the people he worked with called him a completely charming man that was super easy to get along with. His daughter, Karen, describes her father as being an absolute typical family man at home. She states that he was always swimming with them, playing with them, that she didn't have anything but absolutely wonderful memories of her dad in the years that she was growing up. Most people wouldn't suspect that beneath Bob Crane's glib exterior lay 1,000 secrets, captured for posterity on hundreds of hardcore Polaroids and videotapes. He was a sex addict before the term was invented, a married man who seduces scores of women over the years and enjoys recording all the details of their X-rated encounters. He would cart around videotapes and a Polaroid book everywhere he went. He would call people in and say, "Hey, come look at this stuff." And there would be Bob Crane with hundreds of women in either pictures or pornographic videos. None of this stuff had come out, and the public hadn't become fascinated with it until 1978, after the 49-year-old actor was found murdered in his Arizona apartment. From the age of 19 to his dying day, Bob Crane was a married man. He initially wed his high school sweetheart, and they had 3 children. Then he had a torrid affair in 1965 with Cynthia Lynn, who played Colonel Klink's secretary, Hilga, on the show. Cynthia left Hogan's Heroes after its first season, and another statuesque bombshell was hired to play Klink's new secretary, the former Patricia Olson, who starred on the TV show under the name Sigrid Valdis, who Bob Crane goes on to marry. She states that he was always hitting on her from day one, once she walked on the set. And she also says that she completely knew about Bob's obsession with sex and multiple partners. And incredibly, she didn't mind at all. From the first day on the set, he told her that he had a hobby, which was photography. He immediately showed her a thick briefcase full of pictures of all the women in his life. She states that she wasn't hurt at all by this, that she was in love with him, and she felt like he was in love with her. He just had sex with scores of women. She states that being married to a sex addict sounds like every wife's nightmare, but she insists that her marriage was a dream. She says that they were completely happy together and had a wonderful marriage. No one knew, not even family and friends, what was going on behind the scenes. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.